remains to be seen. So.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know, when you have a room and you think 1,500 people or 2,000 people in a room, but they have to 6 feet apart, that's not going to work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yes.
It's got to be a big place.
Good.
That's pretty exciting. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Tony.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm Dwayne Sheffield.
Tell me the context of this. How did this come about? I just, when Jeanette brought it to my attention, it was the first that I'd seen or heard of it. So, what have you guys been up to?
Well, go ahead, Ms. Shiao.
All right. We've been up to a lot of stuff. So what we've realized is that agents in local markets don't really get to learn concepts from people in their own marketplaces. So what we decided to do is to create groups in different marketplaces that not only bring in professionals from outside, but also bring in top producing agents from those local markets. Mm-hmm. So, and that has been really, really amazing. As Dwayne and Jean will tell you, we've been having really, really a blast out here. Next week we're having Ferry going to talk about the high-speed rail.
Okay.
I think she played part in securing a piece of property for the company that is bringing in the train. So, you know, those are some of the things that and reasons that we thought, okay, let's localize these groups and these events so that, you know, we give local professionals content that is not only local, but from people that they see and know.
Yeah.
Wow, great idea.
Yes.
Yeah, Tony, we've just got a group of professionals. You know, Gene had already a format for this app on Facebook, and he just said, okay, we're not going to let any advertising. We're not going to try to sell anything. We only want to give things of value.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. So all the speakers that we've had, you know, being non-biased and giving information that gives you hope, right? That's part of our motto, hope and cope.
Yep.
And things to move forward. I learned a lot of things from my cousin who started a group probably 15, 20 years ago. Started out as Think Big, Work Small. Then he did the nationalrealestatepost.com and Brian Stevens and Frank Garay. And Brian Stevens is my cousin. And, you know, he's nationwide doing what we're doing. We're starting out in a small community, and I'm going to run with it. I want to get some positive people out there. And since this is a new thing and we're nipping it in the butt, bringing hope to people, I think it's going to be very motivating for our area and our surrounding cities.
Good for you guys. What a great thing to bring, especially today, you know. You know, today's world, it really makes sense with all that we're getting with and what's going on. So, well, good. I've got a perspective for you guys that you might want to consider today. I'd love to share some thoughts if you guys are open to that for a few minutes. And if you guys have questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can for you.
And we will also be going live on Facebook. I think we're going to go live on the Mike Ferry group because when I posted the flyer there was a lot of response out there. I thought, okay, let's do this. And I know, you know, people like Julian are here, and you know, there are several other guys who've joined in from there. So I think it's important that we give this to them. We are also going to record it, and then we will edit it also and put it on YouTube and share it as well.
Good. Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna make you famous, Tony.
Tony's famous.
I don't need that. Yeah, I'm not looking for that for any means. I'm not looking for that.
I know.
We're going to help wherever we can, for sure.
I'm just teasing you. Tony and I go way back.
Forever and ever.
Yeah, we were brand new 30 plus years ago in the business, and kind of jumped in it and started doing business, and you know.
Where out of, Gene? Because I've known you for about 27 years.
No, just up here. Tony,
really?
Tony was a new agent like 30-something years ago.
Then I might have known you then, Tony, too. I started out at a place called Kelly Financial off South Benson Boulevard in Upland in 1990. Wow. Then I went to Diamond Coast over here in Hesperia in 1992, and then I met Gene.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I never thought I was going to be the old guy in this business. You know, one of those guys that said they're going to retire when they're going to retire when I was 35, and that didn't work out so good.
Yeah.
But let's jump in. I'll share some thoughts with you guys, and we can certainly go from there. Okay.
All right. All right. I'm going to start connecting on live now. Okay. Sure. Because we already have, I think we have enough people here. So give me a minute so we can do that.
Yeah, Jeanette couldn't be with us, Tony. She's the one that invited you, but she had some conflicts that she couldn't be here. So she wanted to apologize, and so we excused her. But she really wanted to be here to hear what she had to say, but she'll be able to hear the recording version. So she's excited about that.
Good.
We have a couple of other admins with us. We have Denise Gianni from My NHD, and we also have Melody Kosek from Stone Creek Escrow. You probably know Melody.
Yep, for sure.
And Denise. So the group of us kind of just joined forces to bring these events. So we're excited about having you here today with us, because you're a long time a successful real estate agent and also a coach and trainer, and we're excited to hear what you have to say today.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure to be here too. Are we live and ready to go?
We're live and ready to go, Tony. So take it over.
Cool.
Well, thank you. So the beauty of what's happened since mid-February here in the country, some of the things we've all experienced with the pandemic that's worked around, and then some of the little challenges we've had recently, has really opened up a lot of incredible things. And we've had so many observations that have come from this last 4 or 5 months. And it's really given agents a lot of time to reflect and maybe even make some changes, you know. The idea is, depending on how we decide to look at what's going on, will direct how the future goes. And so I want to give you a little bit of just a concept that I would ask you to consider as the broad scope of this. Any business, if you're in business, there are only 4 modes of operation. So if you're operating any kind of business today in America, you're in one of 4 modes. So you are in growth mode. So one way that you can be operating a business is in full-blown growth mode, okay? You can be in protect mode, in a mode of just protecting what you have, trying to maintain, fight off the wolves, if you will, right? You can be in retreat mode, where you're actually starting to pull back and pull in some of your feelers out there, maybe, right? Starting to draw back some of the things that you do to grow your company. And then the one that really troubles me most is you can be in surrender mode. Surrender mode. So it's growth, protect, retreat, or surrender. And those are the only 4 ways that you can run any kind of business. So you're either in one of those modes or you're transitioning from one to the other. And we would all agree that many in the real estate industry, and I'll just speak from what I know, in the real estate industry for the last 4 or 5, 6 years, most agents that came into the market and the market in general were naturally in growth mode. The market's doing pretty well. Things are selling. Everything's looking great, right? Grow, spending some money on advertising, starting a new marketing campaign, some mail outs, full-blown growth mode. And some agents weren't growing, but they were in growth mode. Can you guys appreciate this?
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
And so the idea is that when something shocking happens, it's natural maybe in the beginning to shift the mode. And the first sign that we saw is most of the real estate community shifted into protect mode. They got like, oh, wait, hold on a second. This could be bad. What's going on here, right? Stop the mail out, stop the social media posts. Hold on. Can I sell a house now? How do I list it? How do I sell it? And immediately get into that protection mode, which is fairly normal and natural, right? But then you have to really consider if you shifted out of protect mode and into retreat mode, now you're starting to retreat and you're starting to backpedal. You're starting to consider options, right? we've got to, there's some PPE money I've got to get. There's all these different things that I'm looking at as the intensity got stronger and stronger. And unfortunately, some changes like this will cause some people, either on purpose or by force, to surrender. And that's the one I don't even like saying the word out loud, surrender, right? So we have to really make sure that if we understand how the market works in real estate, and if you're being proactive and you're really trying to move your company forward, if everyone else in the world is retreating or protecting, and if they're all, running for the hills, or they're just locking down, closing the blinds, right? If they get in that mode, then what we notice is that there's millions and millions of dollars of marketing that haven't been spent in the last 90 days. There's millions and millions of mail outs across the country that weren't sent, right? There was all these things that were not, done just because people got in retreat or protect mode. And when that happens, if you want to thrive, if you really want to cope and have just a lot of hope going forward, is you have to see how you can shift yourself back into growth mode. And if you can shift into growth mode when everyone else is going into retreat mode, then you have an advantage that that many people haven't had in real estate for many, many, many years. You have this incredible advantage because your conversation on the street, your marketing piece, your social post, your forward movement in real estate has a lot more value right now than it would when everyone in the world is doing it. Okay, I'm going to apologize right now. They actually have a leaf blower outside of my window. So if that gets in your way, I apologize. So what you really have to understand for yourself is that everyone individually, if you have a business of any kind, you really recognize what mode you're in. And just be honest with yourself. Is it natural maybe to shift down into protect mode? Of course. It might have been natural a little bit to retreat a little bit, pull in some expenses, pull in some costs, get a little protective. And that's probably natural. But I'm going to suggest to everyone watching right now that you immediately shift back into full-blown growth mode. Now, the beautiful part of what happens, and this is where I start to get perspective, is in real estate, many people, the only way they knew how to grow was to spend money. So if I'm going to grow, I have to spend a lot of money on marketing. I got to have a new website. I've got to buy leads on the internet. And so most of the real estate world out there was just spending more and more money. Cutting commissions is one way to spend money to get business. And when a market gets a little tough, agents will naturally think, I'm going to grow. But if I'm going to grow, the only way that can happen is if I spend money. Well, here's the beautiful part. What has happened over the last 3-4 months here has created an environment where you can be in full-blown growth mode without spending money. And it's because the amount of information out there has been cut back so much. Ask yourself a question. So the news, the blogs, how much have they been talking about real estate lately? Zero.
Much.
Right? So once in a while, they'll scan by it once in a while. You'll see this little scan. For the last 4 or 5 or 6, 7 years, that's the nonstop conversation. Oh man, prices are up, interest rates are low, everything's selling, right? And so the dialogue in the marketplace over the last 4 or 5 months has been almost zero about real estate. So if I'm just a regular person out there, I'm just a homeowner. If I'm a homeowner and for the last 4, 5, 6 months, I've heard nothing about real estate, and all I've watched on TV is the pandemic and riots and a little unrest in the country, what is my natural thought about what the real estate market is doing?
Surrender.
Like the natural instinct would be, this has got to be horrible. Like this has to be just literally horrible right now. And that's and it's probably the right thing to think if you didn't know better. And so the public right now believes that things are horrible. And are they?
No.
Not really.
Oh my gosh, our inventory in the US today is shrinking 1 week at a time. Every week, the sales are outpacing the new listings. And this is almost nationwide right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are at critically low inventory rates. I mean, critically low. There were hardly any to begin with. and virtually everything we have is selling. So there's this huge disconnect right now. There's what we know is going on. The public knows is going on. They think, ooh, pandemic, trouble, whatever. And then there's what our profession knows is going on. And this is the most disconnected the two have been in years, maybe ever. So if you really want to take your business to the next level right now, it's a three-word sentence that is the solution to it. Okay, and this is where I get really aggressive, okay? Talk to people. You got to talk to people, okay? The tragedies that would come out of this situation is if you aren't talking to enough people, that's the one tragedy in your business that'll really happen out of this deal. You got to share with them the stats of what's really going on, right? All you have to do is say, hey, were you aware that we had 91 properties come on the market last month, and we had 141 properties sell last month? Our inventory has dropped even lower than it was before. Did you know that we're still getting multiple offers and we're only at 38 days on the market? People need to know. And if you go out on the streets as a business owner and talk to people and educate them on what is really going on, man, it's the best chance we've had in years and years and years to grow your company. Who's heard of the 180-degree rule?
I have.
Hey, Steve. Hey, I saw Steve there. Hey, Steve, how are you?
How's it going, Tony? Good to see you, buddy.
So if you think about the 180-degree rule, and I've learned this, Mike Ferry taught me this in the very early stages. You look at what the masses of the business you have are doing. You watch what they're doing, and then you do the opposite. So if you think about Warren Buffett, for example, okay, when there's no fear in investing, you should be afraid, right? And you should do the opposite. Like if everybody's trying to buy, you should be concerned about that, right? And if no one is trying to buy, that's probably when you should buy, right? Basically the opposite. So my first suggestion, the first advice I would give everyone is to ask yourself, what mode have you been in with? Come to grips with that. It's okay. Whatever mode you've been in, it's fine. But I'm going to ask you to immediately start working on shifting right now into full-blown growth mode. And the sooner you do that, when everyone else is going this way and you go this way, you're going to win. Okay? I normally get 10, 12, 14 pieces of mail a month at my house about real estate that I have here in the desert. I've gotten 0 in the last 3 months. So normally everybody's sending their postcards, sending their notes. Hey, we're here. 0, right? Normally, I don't know if you guys get a lot of calls, prospecting calls or different things throughout your world. I've gotten almost 0. Right. For the hardcore prospectors that we work with all the time, they'll call an expired or for sale by owner, and they'll have this comment like, oh, I haven't heard from anybody today. You're the first one. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, right? That is a sign that everybody's in retreat mode. You go into growth mode and your efforts and any money you do spend is 10 times its normal value. So that's number one thing I would ask everyone to consider. Does it make sense to you guys?
Yes, absolutely.
You've got to shift into full-blown growth mode. What does that mean for you? Okay. The second thing I'm going to ask you to consider is the public is tired of hearing what I think is going on. Here's what we think is going to happen. Everybody's going to die. Nobody's going to die. It's going to be over on Friday. It's going to be over in 6 months. The public is tired of hearing what we think. So what we have to learn to do is flat out deliver what we know. We've got to deliver to the world what we know, and the public can handle what we know. Hardcore stats. You know, Gene's on this message. I know, Gene, you know the stats better than most in what's going on in our world, but our job is to deliver what we know, which are the stats of what's going on in the market, okay? And take all the hypotheticals out of it, all right? The public is not responding well to, here's what I think is gonna happen this year, or next year, or the year after. You know, after the election, I think this is gonna happen. Hey, here's what we know. We know that we were at about 3 or 4% unemployment, and we're at 13%, which is much better than what was expected. there were some rumors that we might be at 20 or 30% unemployment. However, we still are at 12, 13% unemployment. When that happens, does that eventually cause a problem economically? Of course, right? So right now we know that virtually every single home that comes on the market is being outpaced with a sale by 20%. So we have one home that comes for sale, 1.25 homes sells. So if more homes are selling than are coming on the market, would it make sense to sell your home then? Can you appreciate the fact that there are a lot of people sitting on the sidelines right now that have not chosen to put their home for sale? Do you think they will someday? I don't know if they will or not, but what I do know is hardly anybody is trying to sell today. Would you like to put your home on the market when no one else is trying? Right? If we stick to the facts and stay out of the hypotheticals, people will respond really well. Good idea?
Absolutely.
Good. So in also our individual businesses, decide what are the facts you want to stick to and stick to those facts, right? The response, what I've noticed is people are so almost, they're almost thankful and so appreciative of just someone saying, thank you for just giving me the truth, and that they'll accept it really well. Okay. Next, I would recommend you've got to decide your own perspective that you want to carry on going forward. You have to decide what perspective you're going to carry. I'll give you an example. It would start with a little thought, maybe a quote. Okay. I was sad because I had no shoes until I met a man with no feet.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I was sad because I had no shoes until I met a man with no feet. Now, that's just a simple way to see perspective. Unfortunately, are there many people in our community, in communities all over the world, that have not been able to go to work by no fault of their own?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Are there a lot of people that haven't been able to go to work but would if they could?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. So I'll ask you a question. Do you have a job?
Yes.
Is anyone telling you you can't go? Okay. So if we want perspective, there's a lot of people that got up this morning praying, hoping, praying, wishing that their business would come fully open so they would get their job back, praying that they could do it. And then if we sit here on the sidelines and we have a job and no one has told us that we can't do our job, if we don't do our job, is there a problem with that?
Yes, there is.
Absolutely.
Okay, so because there's a lot of people that would like to get a real estate license right now and have a job. They just don't, and they haven't, and maybe they can't, right? So do you understand what your job is? And if you understand what your job is and you get the right perspective that most of the world does not, has a challenge with their job. They might be worried about their job for the next 2 or 3 years. If you do your job, will you have to worry about it?
Mm-mm.
As a real estate agent, as a salesperson, Gene, if we do our job, do we have to worry about whether we have a job or not? Okay. Most people on this message are self-employed.
No, we don't.
Right? If you're self-employed, you have a job as long as you do your job. So I would ask everyone to reevaluate what their job is. Reevaluate what their job is and fight harder than ever to simply do your job. Okay? In our world, it's a pretty simple deal. We have rules, okay? So in our world, there's kind of like the rules of selling, okay? As a real estate agent, our job is to go out and find people each day who want to buy or sell. That's a number one requirement of our job. Go out each and every day and find people who want to buy or sell. Second part of our job is to follow up aggressively on the people we find that might want to buy or sell. We have to follow up aggressively on the people that we find that want to buy or sell. Our third job is we have to pre-qualify in depth. Pre-qualify in depth the people we find to make sure they're motivated and they're capable of buying or selling. Okay? we have to present in a way that gets a signature. Our job is to perform a presentation in a way that gets a signature. Hey, let's be honest. If we don't learn to present in this format to some degree, we're going to miss a lot of listings. We've got to learn to present in this kind of a format. And then, of course, we've got to learn to present live. Okay.
Right.
5, on our job. Our job is naturally to handle their objections that they have and close to get a signature. So we've got to learn how to handle the objections that they have and get them to sign with us instead of somebody else. 6, we've got to be a master of negotiating with them and for them. Our job, we've got to be a really great negotiator, negotiating with them and for them on the sale of their property. And then 7, the most important part of our job as a real estate agent, the one that most people miss most often, is we got to start over at the top of that list again tomorrow. So our job is real simple. There's 6, 7 things that we have to do our job. And if we do those 7 things well, we never have to worry about whether we have a job or not. You guys following along so far?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome, Tony.
Any questions at this point? Questions at all about any of this so far?
I in the modes, the 4 modes that I've saw, one of the things in a repeated longevity of being in this business, I've learned that I've gone back to growth retreat, growth retreat, growth retreat. Mm-hmm. And I think when you retreat, that kind of is the learning process to figure out how to get your perspectives moving forward, and then you grow again. The other thing I noticed is that us knowledgeable people in our industry that are professionals, when we go to talk to the public that are uneducated, a lot in this time right now, they're thinking it's going to fall out. I'm going to wait and buy until, they hear all the negative news. I want to wait and buy until everybody loses their properties, and it's just unrealistic. They need to know the facts. So without your perspective of talking to people, the 3 words, they're not going to know what's really going on out there. And thank you, Tony. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're so welcome. And it is true. These are all natural thoughts to have. Hey, this pandemic's coming around. This could be a bad situation. Hey, let's wait for the shoe to drop and the sky to fall. And let's wait for the streets to be littered with foreclosures. And I'm going to swoop in and buy things at a fraction of the cost. And if we just share with them the facts of what's going on, right? The complete lack of inventory is honestly going to soften the blow of what this could be. Last time in 2006 and 7, when we really got into a major challenge, what were there, 300 or 400 homes under construction at all times right here in our little area? Maybe 500 homes under construction. We have none of that this time, right? So we're in such a stronger position now in our marketplace than we were the last time, right? That the people need to know, though, because if no one educates them on what's happening with the facts, they'll be disappointed later. Mm-hmm. As a buyer or a seller, they're going to be really disappointed. Okay. So there's one other, there's a couple of little thoughts. If you ever want to read a book that really brings this home, I recommend that everybody read this book. And the book is titled The Obstacle is the Way. So if you ever want to read a book that just hits home where my core comes from, and when I read the book, I go, this is my mentor and boss, Mike Ferry. This literally is the way he exists in life, is the rules of the obstacle is the way. And it's basically centered around Stoicism, which Stoicism says that, that life, there is a struggle. It's how you look at that struggle that's the way you succeed. And Stoics have a belief that's different. It's not like, rainbows and unicorns all the time. It's how do you look at an obstacle and how do you overcome it? And because you're going to get them. Mm-hmm. And it's a great book, which, Steve will attest to this. When we read this book, this is Mike Ferry. Okay. This is Mike Ferry. Holloway or something.
Holloway.
Yeah. So you want to check it out, but it's a great book. In this book, they talk about these things like perspective. If every morning you will get up and really fight to gain the right perspective, and if you really work on making sure you're shifting your perspectives off of the emotional side onto the reality of things, and you keep your perspectives right, doing our job is really simple under any environment, okay? I wrote a point down. Your market, the market of real estate for you personally, if you support your family and your income is the driving force, the real estate market exists right here. This is the only place the market exists. Yes, I understand the numbers out there and those things, but what we have to all understand is that in the market's worst situation or its best situation, there's 10, 20, 30, 40, hundreds of times more business than our little market needs, this market. So if this market in my head is the one that matters, we have to really work to control the market in our head, right? I want to take a listing a week. Okay, well, there's still, 20, 15 listings a week being taken. So you want to take one out of the 15? It's just a little tiny number. The market exists in our head. So does our economy. Our own economy exists between our ears. And we really have to work on measuring our economy. I mean, don't we have the same job that the government has, which is a tough job right now? The government has this really tough job. They have to try to keep people safe, and they have to protect the economy, right? Isn't that the job? Like, the government has this horrible task right now. The world has a horrible task of trying to protect people, but protect the economy too, right? Don't we have the same job individually?
Absolutely.
We have to protect ourselves, and we got to do what measures we know to be safe and be healthy and all these things. But most importantly, we have to protect our economy. And our economy is right here with us. So I would ask everyone to consider both sides of that coin. Am I doing what I need to do to protect myself and my family health-wise? And then what steps do I need to do to protect my own personal economy? And if you take those steps, it's pretty easy when everyone else is thinking something else. Okay, right? So I wrote a point down. In this line of stoicism, and what's there is you have to learn to focus on what you can control. And I'm going to ask everyone here to maybe consider a few things now, and then we'll open it up for questions, okay? Have you seen enough of the news about the pandemic?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you seen and heard enough? And I always ask this question, okay? If anyone down here says, yes, believe me, I am overjoyed, I'm ecstatic about it. And please keep in mind, I am not trying to downplay this in any way. I understand the severity of it. But is anyone on this message going to create the cure for it personally?
Nope.
Okay? If you're not actively working on the cure, the best thing you can do for the world is protect yourself and create your own economy. Because for most of the people on this call, when you go do your job, do you know how many people you put to work?
Absolutely. Yes.
Mhm.
You are the
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
I
that's
do
true.
my job, right, and take a listing, when you do your job and take a listing, you're putting the type, Gene goes to work, right? Escrow goes to work, termite guy goes to work, septic guy goes to work, home inspector goes to work, handyman goes to work, lender goes to work. When we do our job in the real estate sales industry, we put a lot of people to work. And that's probably the best doggone thing we can do to help out during a pandemic, if we're not going to create the cure. So if we're not going to create the cure, we need to go to work. And if we need to do our job, all the other services go to work. And if you're not going to create the cure, I'm going to ask you now to dramatically do some things for your mindset. You got to unplug from the news. You got to unplug from the blogs. You got to unplug from all the negative feeds on social media. You're too busy working to do that now. Okay? And then the other side of the coin. I believe all that we've seen over the last few months has left a bruise on a lot of people. It's bruised them. it's been one great big affirmation, if you will. It's a big affirmation, and it's been a negative affirmation, yes? So we've had one great big negative constant affirmation for 4 months. Our job is we've got to push that damage into a tight little corner in our brain. And there's only one place to do that, is that's by piling in massive, massive positivity. Okay? You got to read, you got to read a book a week right now. You've got to do affirmations every single day. You've got to turn off the negative and start watching just nothing but positive YouTube videos, one after the other. You've got to pump nothing but, don't watch murder, death, kill shows on TV right now, right? There's no advantage to piling on with that, right? Let's watch nothing but, positive, uplifting things. Rudy, and, there's a million positive movies you can watch. If you're going to relax at home, watch a positive one, right? And we've got to spend the next 2 or 3, 4 months fighting off the damage in here that was created over the last 2 or 3 or 4 months. And I mean, you got to be like over the top diligent about this, because it did leave a mark on a lot of people. So would everybody on this group commit to kind of a massive mindset makeover program for the next month or so?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm talking about an intense, aggressive mindset makeover program. Okay, I'm happy, healthy, thin, fit, and rich. Right? I love
leading by example.
Right? Lead by example. Go and, just push positivity in the world. Go and leave everybody a little better than you found them. Go on like a massive, massive mindset makeover. You're going to need it. Okay? And I'll leave you with this, and we'll leave it for questions. I believe this is going to be the tale of two halves. 2020 is the tale of two halves. The first half, which had all that it had in it, and we know what was there. And then I believe there's going to be a completely different story in the second half. So it's our job to decide right now and start really deciding how our second half of 2020 is going to work out for us and our family.
Yes.
It's time to decide how it's going to work out.
Sure.
Okay?
And there's toilet paper in the second half.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We all have plenty now.
Idea.
That's right, right?
I got some left over from January. There you
exactly,
go.
Right? So, but if we decide that, and it's time to, there's no fault in maybe taking your eye off goals. There's no fault in maybe gotten in protect mode, maybe retreat mode. There's no fault in any of that because of the circumstances. But I'm going to suggest to you right now, it's time to get back in full-blown growth mode, full-blown goal mode, right? And start seeing the future the way you used to see the future. Really, you have to ask yourself. So when I get analyzers, so I get a lot of real estate agents, and they send their numbers. Steve does too. You get the numbers, like nonstop numbers from real estate agents. Here's what I did this week and this month, right? I took every person I coach, and I went back through their last 2 or 3 years numbers in their business. And most agents have a 2 or 3 month pandemic every year. Like, I'm serious. Like, you look back over most agents' production, and you go last year and you go, hey, apparently you had a pandemic in March, June, and December. Right? Where did you go? Were you on vacation for 4 months last year? What happened to you? Right?
Retreat mode.
Retreat mode. So the truth is, this little 3 or 4 month window literally can have nothing to do with your 1, 3, and 5 year plans for economics, for the future, for savings, for retirement, whatever you want to do. It can literally have no effect on that whatsoever, or it can have a major effect. Yes. The choice is up to you right now. Okay? So I'm going to ask everyone here to choose the future that they originally had. And go ahead. Choose it. Run with it. Good, right? So questions about any of these thoughts, guys, girls?
All right. First of all, I want to mention that Julian Casser posted the book you suggested. So anybody who wants to get that book, you can grab it on the chat. Secondly, Tony, we have Richard Jean Felix on Facebook who's giving you thumbs up, and Leah Friedland says, thank you, Tony. Love the inspiration during these times. Now let's open it up to any questions from anybody.
Yeah, anybody that has a question, I'm happy to answer anything I can for you.
Now let's see, check the chats here. We do have Jeanette who says, thank you, Tony, for your time and expertise.
Hey, Tony, I think you're dead right on the aggressive part right now. And I think it's caught everybody by surprise. As I talk to agents out there, they're surprised that they're being beat out on their offers. And they're telling me they had 5, 10, even up to 20 plus offers, and everybody's in shock.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the market and the agents are kind of trying to adjust to this something they didn't expect. They didn't expect this because all the negativity, like you talked about, all the negativity that nobody's working, everybody's out of work, nobody has money to buy, and everybody's buying. What?
Right.
So you're absolutely right.
So you can appreciate this, that even great agents who are in the middle of it with an offer that, they had a buyer and they submitted an offer and there were 5 or 6 offers and they got beat out. In the middle of it, where agents themselves are still in disbelief and still thinking that it should be bad out there. And they're in the industry and they're watching the stats every day, and they're like, it's almost like everybody's waiting for some major shoe to drop. Go to work.
Go to work.
Yeah.
Amen.
I know.
When there's business to be had, we know that you better get it right now. You never know, right? So, man, it's wide open right now. You take
It
a list
is.
today,
Get it while the getting's good.
Yes. You
Get
take
it while
a
the
list
getting's
today,
good.
you're getting paid, right? I mean,
That's
literally,
right. That's
you're
right.
listing at the right price today, you're getting paid. It's not even a question. Has anybody been around the world when you take a listing and you weren't even sure if you were going to get paid?
Yeah.
Remember those days?
Yes.
Right? I used to have a stat that I had to take 3 listings for every 1 paycheck back in 2011. I was taking 3 listings for every 1 paycheck. In the analyzers today of the people I coach, they're getting 1 1/4 paychecks out of every 1 listing.
Hmm.
So they're taking a listing and they're selling that and then getting a residual buyer too. So they're literally getting more than 1 check out of a listing right now. Right? So
Yeah.
if we don't jump on this thing right now,
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, good
Hey,
opportunity.
Karen, did you have
if-
your hands up? Karen? I think Karen
Yeah.
Sanchez has a question.
Tony, I mean, so many great takeaways, but thank you for alleviating the guilt of bad times. So what you said about, everybody has these periods of throughout their year of when business drops. And, I mean, so many times when that's happening, I feel like I'm not doing the right thing. There's a lot of self-loathing that goes on here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to get another listing. I'm going to fail. Maybe I need to go work at Walmart, and I mean, history does not see that, but, just to hear you say that and affirm that, okay, this happens to everybody is huge. Thank you.
Good. Here, I'll lock it down for you all right now with a visual, and I hope this visual sticks forever, okay? So I want you to visualize sitting in the front seat of your automobile behind the steering wheel. Okay, Karen, you're sitting in your car, okay? In front of you, there are 2 pieces of glass. There is the windshield.
Right.
There's a rear view mirror. They're both sitting in front of you, okay? And those 2 pieces of glass were designed exactly in the right proportion of how you should look at your business, your life, and everything. This much you look forward, right?
Right.
This much you look in the rearview mirror.
Right.
And the only reason you look in the rearview mirror is to reminisce, okay? To talk about great times, to talk about great family of the past or whatever. The only time I want you looking in the rearview mirror is for that, because nobody cares what you did yesterday. You don't care.
Exactly.
Like, who cares?
Right.
If you haven't listed a house in 6 months, who cares? What matters is what's in front of you, right? So if you see that perspective, right, this much of your world, you should always be looking forward, 100% forward. Okay, makes sense?
Makes
Makes
sense.
Absolutely.
sense. Absolute sense. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
A couple things, Tony, when you said, you don't know information unless you talk to people. You have to talk to people and become a master of negotiating. That just comes with time. To be a master of negotiating, you learn from your experiences, and that goes with your part of growth. And I thank you for your time.
Yeah, no problem at all. No problem at all. I'm happy to help any. I love this format. Thank you guys for putting some positivity in the world like this, and really creating something here in this world of our community. I will do anything that I can in the high desert to help, because it has been a beautiful thing for me in my career. And even though I don't do a whole lot of real estate stuff here much anymore, I am happy to help any way I can. Just know it, okay?
Now, Tony, we do have other groups. We do have several groups around, and I see Dan Howard is here. Is running a group down in Antelope Valley.
Okay.
Would you be open to talking at some of those groups? And maybe Dan would also say hi.
Yeah, no, please. You guys have my email address. Probably send it to my Mike Ferry email address. Obviously,
Okay.
if we're scheduling out or at all, and I always have Mike Ferry's support. He asked me to put, we're putting out messages anytime we can. We can get specific with things. If we can get a good group of people on, I can get really specific with, real specific with listing skills or sales skills. If we really want to dig into that, I'm happy to do it. But it's tony.smith@mikeferry.com.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Tony.
Tony, what you were talking about is when we make our calls today and contact people, and we make a sale happen, that sale is going to happen in probably 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks from now. So we're already working in August, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so, I mean, we've got to forward think, because we're already in August now, and it's happening so fast. So we have to keep the momentum going. We have to keep the locomotion trained and keep it fully, keep the coal in the fire, per se.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah,
For
so
sure.
we're really helping a lot of people out there.
For sure, man. You go to work today, and you can have a really good third and fourth quarter. There is no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Good. Thank you all for this. It's been a pleasure to be here. It's great to see some of your smiling faces. I'm a pretty social guy myself, and I haven't seen many of you face to face naturally in months and months and months. So hopefully we all get to see each other again. And if you guys do get a chance, go to mikeferry.com. Our scripts are all there. Our dialogues are all there. We've got workshops that are going off. I'm doing a workshop on the 7th and 8th. We literally are pumping out. There's a program we have called Adapt. Adapt is I do mindset every Tuesday. Ron Cronin does skills on Wednesday. Mike Ferry has interviews with the best agents in the world on Thursday. And so we do have programs that we've designed for this time. Okay, check it out. See if there's anything you guys want to see. There's just all kinds of free stuff on there.
Oh, thanks so much. I want to acknowledge the presence
you,
of
Tony.
Denise Gianni, one of our admins, and of course Jeanette Dixon, who she's listening in. She's not able to participate, but she's listening in.
Excellent. Sounds like a great turnout. I am just happy to see you guys all show up here. It's great. So we will see you guys all at another time. Let me know if you need something.
Thank you so much, Tony.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you so much.
Took some good notes. You have a wonderful day, wonderful week.
Thanks.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye now. Bye.
Thank you.